sort of bypassing any kind of major issues when those type of things happen. Anyway, my background is kind of in improvisation on the music front, so I kind of warm to the more organic, in the moment approach when possible. And you got to take good with the bad and the ugly, and these things happen at times. So hopefully that ain't gonna happen again for now, and we can follow on from close-ish to where we left off. So I was looking at the meeting Zelenskyy had with his European backers earlier today, and there's just a little bit more I want to touch on before going back to the LBC story.
In terms of what they can achieve today, this is an emergency summit, so it hasn't been weeks and months in the planning. So there isn't a big list of things they're going to tick off and agree on. Of course, even if there is agreement. So I think there'll be more strong words later. But in the here and now, President Zelenskyy desperately wants this help, particularly if the Americans are stepping back in terms of military supplies they're sending and not sharing intelligence with Ukraine. So that is one thing they're looking at as a matter of urgency. And then on the other hand, they're talking about investing billions of euros in the defence industry in Europe in the years and decades to come.
Now, the pictures have just cut away from those leaders inside the meeting room. Just give us an idea of the timetable of today. And
I mean, in a way, Europe are kind of under pressure, and they're sort of trying to fast track their own deal to, I suppose, show that they can, propose a peace deal that's more favourable for Ukraine as an alternative to Donald Trump's suggestions, which to me still looks like the only viable game in the house. It is what it is.
what we might expect at the end of the meeting?
Yeah, well, we've got an indication of the sort of discussions happening today from the arrivals when the various politicians arrived, the leaders, and some of them chose to speak. And interestingly, Sarah, just sort of catching up on a few of the things that were said, Donald Tusk, who is the Polish Prime Minister, who used to actually chair the meeting of the 27 EU countries, he was saying that the first priority needs to be to secure the EU's border. So he's looking at possible aggression from Russia in the future on EU soil, whether that's the Baltic states or elsewhere. So that's one thing they'll be looking at. Also, I think what may come up today, even though it's not really on the agenda, is what President Macron of France has been talking about. He's been raising the possibility of France using their so-called nuclear shield, their nuclear capabilities, and extending it to other countries, maybe Germany.
I mean, this is good. It's getting people to think of different solutions, more solutions than anyone's come up with in the last 3 years. You got Macron's idea, Starmer's idea, and you got where it all started, Trump's idea, which kind of could have been on the move from last Friday, Saturday gone, if it didn't end with the altercation. I kind of think it's going to go back to that, because it's one thing having the ideas, it's another thing getting all the parties to agree. And Trump kind of has communication with both sides. He's like the bridge at the moment.
For example, if the Americans are going to walk away from European security. And today we heard a few people saying, well, actually, that sounds like a good idea. But Olaf Scholz, who's the German leader, not for much longer, he was saying, well, you know, Europe shouldn't give up on US nuclear deterrence. So I think, you know, lots of different speeds that leaders want to work at, maybe different directions, but all agree this is a really critical moment, and it can't be a question of lots of platitudes and nothing comes out of it in the coming weeks and months.
Okay.
No, give peace a chance. I say, the sad thing is right now in Europe, you got this thing where it's just like they're guessing up Zelenskyy with the bravery label, super brave, and yeah, we stand by you, we will support you. And in the media, surprisingly, you just seem to have so much ill feeling, and in some cases it comes across as a raw kind of hatred, not even dislike, for the help that's coming from across the Atlantic, as long as it's got Donald Trump or J.D. Vance, his name on it. It just seems to be so much Look, just check out this interview. Played a bit of it before the Gremlins joined in and the stream crashed, with this Republican doctor in the States. And look how she's treated by the LBC presenter. Use the advert.
I've got to turn now to...
So you got, I think his name is Luz Godot, conducting the interview. And it doesn't even let the lady finish any questions. His mind is just so made up, and the dislike or anything in support of Zelenskyy and anything Trump related, it's just overflowing. Let me know in the comments if you noticed this as well. One positive thing, there was a good caller who came after this lady, and I don't think the presenter expected him to be voicing the opinions he voiced.
As promised to Dr. Jan Halper-Hayes, former global vice president of Republicans overseas, as advisor to Donald Trump's 2017 transition team. Dr. Halper-Hayes, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Do you understand why so many in this country and in Europe more generally would have seen what happened in the Oval Office as an attempt to humiliate President Zelenskyy and be repulsed by it?
Well, if they watched all 53 minutes, then I don't think they would have that feeling. If they saw clips of it, which of course will be clips of J.D. Vance and Trump being very angry with Zelenskyy, then of course they would come to that.
Could you imagine President Trump speaking to, say, President Putin in that way? And isn't it precisely the point that he wouldn't, that is part of the problem?
Yeah, I said this before the whole thing crashed with our gremlin friends. I don't see President Trump finding himself in a position where he'll have to speak to Putin in that way. Therein lies the key. Zelenskyy shouldn't have even been nowhere near finding himself in a position where any of that would have had to have gone on in the first place.
Well, if President Putin pushed him the way Zelenskyy pushed Trump,
what did Zelenskyy do? What did he do that was so egregious in your view?
Well, one is that he started litigating the 2014. He said, I don't want a ceasefire.
He said he wants peace repeatedly. He just doesn't want it on Russia's terms, which you'll understand because Russia invaded his country.
But he said, I don't want a ceasefire. He made that comment to Trump.
He said he doesn't want a ceasefire if he knows that Putin is just going to renege on it a couple of months later, which is fair enough, isn't it? Because he's done that repeatedly, you will accept.
Exactly.
No, not exactly. I mean, the point is that, of course, anyone wants a ceasefire, but there's
no way you can't say this anchor, this news host is not being combative to his guests.
Point having a ceasefire, is there? Which is what Zelenskyy was saying to Trump, if Putin is just going to renege on it shortly afterwards.
And Trump was saying, how do you really know? I mean, if you're really coming from that position, that no one can guarantee anything. But if you don't move forward to get something into an agreement and then be able to put the right security.
But what has Putin said that gives you or President Trump any indication at all that he even wants a ceasefire? Putin has said he doesn't want a ceasefire at this point.
Putin is... Look, I'm not here to have an argument because you clearly have a position that I don't agree with.
What would that be? What would that position be?
Well,
I mean, we would both agree, wouldn't we, for a start, that Putin started the war?
Yeah, what I would say is that Putin legally violated international law. Morally, he thought he was right, and strategically...
But you would agree that morally he was wrong?
No, I would not agree morally he was wrong. I would agree legally he was wrong.
You would agree, you would not think that a man who literally, as we speak, still sends drone attacks to kill Ukrainian civilians is morally wrong?
Oh, and you
Sorry,
think
folks,
that Ukraine isn't doing anything to the Russians?
Excuse me, I just had to interject there.
Ukraine didn't invade Russia. Russia invaded Ukraine. That you wouldn't agree that was morally wrong.
Okay, all right. You know what? That is 3 years ago.
Right. So if we were sat in 1942, would you have been on the radio going, "Look, don't worry about"?
I don't get this argument. It always comes back to 1945, 1942, 1939. How long ago was that now? They don't take the debate or the argument from the present, where we are now.
Hitler invaded Poland 3 years ago.
You know what? I didn't sign on for this hypothetical discussion.
It's not hypothetical. I'm just trying to tease out the logic of what you're saying, Dr. Halper Hayes.
One.
Bad faith discussion.
One is that James Baker and Thatcher and Mitterrand and Kohl, etc., had promised that NATO would not move 1 inch eastward, and that was violated.
Those
so
countries.
You want to look at all the different people that violated their agreement?
When did America start basically just sort of representing what Moscow thinks? Those countries wanted to be part of the NATO club. Your club. Are you saying that they should never have been allowed to exercise their democratic and sovereign rights as nations and join that club?
Oh, God. You know what? I don't like having my words twisted. No. I really don't.
You don't like... Well, but that's the point of an interview, isn't it? Is to discuss what you're saying. And I'm just asking you... You're saying... With respect, Doctor, I'm just trying to understand what you're saying. You're saying that those countries should never have been allowed to join NATO, and then we wouldn't have been in this situation. And I'm saying to you that surely those countries should have been allowed...
I didn't say that.
Well,
see, that's why... No, hold on a minute.
But you cited what happened in the... so you're saying that it's fine for them to join NATO, then?
You see, he's used to sort of getting people all tongue-tied, tongue-twisted, and, kind of pulling some kind of Jedi sort of intellectual gymnastics on a not very intellectually strong thinker. This lady here, she's clear-minded. He can't pull that one on her. He's going to get frustrated.
I didn't say any of those things, and I don't like when someone tries to give words and interpret without understanding. I'm done. I'm off. I don't like you.
Okay. Well, that's fine, Dr. Halper Hayes. Maybe some of the listeners won't like you, but that's fine. I'm entirely indifferent to that. I'm very grateful for your time. Dr. Jan Halper Hayes. He's there, former global vice president of Republicans overseas. Apparently, I'm not going to be on her Christmas card list. Maybe I will be with Oliver in Harlesden, though. Oliver.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good morning, still just about.
Good morning. What a disrespectful, low-life leader is Mr. Zelenskyy. Oh, my God, this guy.
A low-life? What? He's been bravely leading his country for 3 years, Oliver.
Okay, listen. I'm going to be very quick here. I'm not going to be as technical as you or the other listener. Listen, you go into America, you're not even bothered to wear suits. You just go with that.
Come on. Yes, so you're saying that when Winston Churchill visited the White House in the 1940s, he should have worn a suit?
Here we go. Back to the 40s again.
Okay, listen.
Does that matter?
Okay, listen. He's going to see the most powerful leader on the planet.
Yeah.
Come on, have some respect. And the way he went on in the video, he was so disrespectful.
What about Elon Musk? Elon Musk don't wear a suit in the White House. Doesn't seem to matter to Donald Trump.
I'm not talking about Elon Musk.
Well, no, but you're the one.
No, please don't stop. Please. Let me finish, please. He's going to see Trump. Yeah, the most powerful leader of the planet. And he went off about small details.
Is the president of the United States so petty that he would genuinely have a massive row with someone? If he was really committed, if he thought that Ukraine had justice on its side, are we really saying that the president of the United States and the vice president are so petty that they'll let it all just get out of hand just because of what the president of Ukraine is wearing?
Look, the accusations of bullying and such that was thrown at J.D. Vance, Donald Trump over the weekend. Who's thin-skinned and petty now?
Can I finish my statement, please?
Well, no, I'm just asking you a question.
Please? Yeah, but no, you're not asking me because you just talk over me, sir.
No,
I'm
okay.
finishing.
Yeah.
Very,
like
very,
the other lady.
very
Ridiculous, so, you know.
Oh, my. Yeah, okay. You're a bully. Oh, my goodness, you're unprofessional.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Oh, I tell you what, can we get through 3 calls now without someone hanging up?
No. Now, the next one I want to look at is this interview with it's about Andrew Tate. I'm not sure if it's worth looking at a bit of what Piers Morgan had to say in this show. No, we'll go straight to the TYT show because yesterday they were again less than well. This is not really about good faith as such.
Squarespace.
This is just pure bias.
Communism, as we've
Anna Kasparian and TYT, even Jenk, I kind of flow with some of their arguments and shows. Other times they seem to descend into pure political entertainment. That's what I describe it as. And it's just character assassination and name calling, which you kind of get all over the media. Although the way they kind of hold themselves, you'd kind of think they're more fact and politically, accurate and more on that line of discussion and debate. Not the case, as you'll see with this clip.
understood it and tried very hard to fight against for so long. The basic premise is that you find the man and then find.
And listen, I'm not no supporter of this person, that person. I'm definitely a supporter of things that make sense and a balanced argument and fair treatment where possible. Andrew Tate's got a good point here. He's got dual citizenship, so he shows up in the States. It's his country. You're going to hear a comment that Anna Kasparian makes, and it sounds kind of racist to me. And it's not a word I use too often or bring into the narrative lightly. She says, are you going to hear it? Something along the lines of, get out of our country or something like that. And I'm thinking, he's got an American passport. It's as much his country as it is yours.
The crime.
Hold on.
Is that not exactly what Ron DeSantis just promised to all of his constituents? It's not, we've seen a crime, let's find the perpetrator. It's, we found a man, let's see if we can find a crime to pin on this man. Is that the American way? Is that democracy? Is that innocent until proven guilty? Now, I'm not afraid of it because I know I've done nothing wrong. But it's quite unusual and quite scary for me to land as an American citizen, expecting a hero's welcome after dealing with a foreign and complicated judicial process, and being told that now the American state is going to be set on me, trying its very best to lock me up here when I've done nothing wrong ever. This is communism in and of itself. I may as well fly back to Romania.
Yeah. I think you should leave. I think you should fly back to Romania right now. You should do yourself a favor. You should do the American people a favor and get the F out of our country.
I don't get that. I'm going to run it back again. She actually said,
on me, trying its very best to lock me up here when I've done nothing wrong ever. This is communism in and of itself. I may as well fly back to Romania.
Here we go.
I think you should leave. I think you should fly back to Romania right now. You should do yourself a favor. You should do the American people a favor and get the F out of our country. Now, alleged rapist and sex trafficker, Andrew Tate.
Whose country? The guy's got dual citizenship that includes an American passport. Is it not as much his country as it is yours?
Is accusing Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida of communism. Okay. After receiving a less than warm welcome from the Florida governor upon landing in Fort Lauderdale, that's the airport I typically land in when I visit my family in Florida. I'm disgusted that Andrew Tate has ever been at that airport. Nonetheless, at a press conference on the day that the Tate brothers arrived in Florida, Ron DeSantis, to his credit, said that they were not welcome in the state, which Andrew Tate apparently did not appreciate, John, and he's even more furious now that the Florida Attorney General has officially launched an investigation into him and his brother. Tristan is his name. Now, AG James Uthmeyer, who actually used to be DeSantis's chief of staff, said Tuesday that he had directed his office to work with law enforcement last week on a preliminary inquiry into the two men. He says, based on a thorough review of the evidence, I've directed the Office of Statewide Prosecution to execute search warrants and issue subpoenas in the now active criminal investigation into the Tate brothers. He directed law enforcement.
Listen, I'll just say there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. And, well, it's worth trying to find some detail inside all the accusations and potential ulterior motives. A lot of people, when it comes to Andrew Tate and his, profile across the social media world, a lot of people just repeat what they hear and form a kind of dislike for the dude, quite similar to the Trump derangement thing. Well, you reach your own conclusion. Let me know what you think in the comments, what you think of some of these subjects. The whole super brave Zelenskyy, European narrative, we stand by you to the end regardless. The way they're reacting to J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. And now this Andrew Tate get out of our country thing, where, as, it's his country as well. Who knows? We'll keep watching the space. For now, you've been with myself on your idea here at CornerSpeak. Thanks for spending some time here. And be good, be safe, be creative. As usual, we out.
You been unfairly charged or conned by a company?
I just want to do a quick word from our sponsors before I forget. Small debts. If you're based in the UK and you've been scammed by anyone online, or you've got a rent deposit you have coming back to you and someone's refusing to pay, or any kind of money issues that you're just reaching the end of your tether with and you need some support, Small debts know what they're doing. They'll hold your corner down for you and they will get that money paid. Above all, check this out.
You been unfairly charged or conned by a company? At Small Debts, no company is too big and no debt too small. Small Debts is here to help.
See you later.